The 1985 P United States of America half dollar, commonly known as the 1985 P Kennedy half dollar, occupies a special place the long-running President John F. Kennedy. Although at first glance it appears to be an ordinary modern circulation coin, its story is more interesting than many collectors realize. The letter P beneath Kennedy's portrait marks the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most historically significant U.S. minting facilities. By 1985, Kennedy half dollars had already been in production for over 20 years, having first been issued in 1964 as a memorial to Kennedy after his assassination. The design had become familiar to Americans, even though the coin was rarely encountered in everyday change by the mid-1980s due to declining public use of half dollars. Despite this, the U.S. Mint continued to produce them for collectors and for limited commercial purposes, meaning the 1985 P half dollar exists, but is less commonly seen in circulation than earlier issues. On the obverse, the 1985 P half dollar features the enduring profile of John F. Kennedy, sculpted by Gilroy Roberts. Across the top arc sits the name Liberty, with Kennedy's head overlapping the letters, an intentional design choice symbolizing the importance of leadership rising through the nation's ideals. Beneath the chin appears the familiar national motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase long associated with American identity and present on U.S. coins since the 19th century. The date, 1985, sits below the portrait, and just above the date, the P Mint mark identifies its Philadelphia origin. Every detail, from the hair texture to the spacing of the lettering, was struck on a copper-nickel-clad planchet, the standard material for half dollars after 1971. This composition consists of an outer layer of copper-nickel alloy bonded to a pure copper core, giving the coin durability, a light silvery appearance, and a weight of 11.34 grams. The reverse of the coin, designed by Frank Asparo, centers on the presidential coat of arms, a powerful image steeped in national symbolism. An eagle with outstretched wings, inspired by the Great Seal of the United States, holds an olive branch in its right talon, representing peace, and a bundle of arrows in its left, symbolizing readiness to defend the nation. Above the eagle's head floats a radiant constellation of stars, and flowing above is a banner with the motto, E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one. This phrase embodies the union of the states and the diversity of the American people. Encircling the entire design is the legend, United States of America at the top and the denomination, half dollar at the bottom. Gasparo's detailed engraving gives the eagle a stately presence, and the arrangement of stars, feathers, and heraldic elements reflects the long tradition of American iconography. One important historical note about the 1985 P half dollar is that, although it was struck in significant numbers, it was not released into general circulation by the U.S. Mint. Beginning in the late 1970s and continuing through the 1980s, the public largely stopped using half dollars in daily transactions. As a result, the Mint produced them mostly for collectors and for inclusion in mint sets. This means that many 1985 P half dollars survive in very nice condition, often with fewer marks or signs of wear than coins circulated in earlier decades. Collectors typically encounter them either in original U.S. Mint packaging or from secondary market sellers who break up mint sets for resale. The fact that they were not commonly used in commerce has given the 1985 P issue a reputation for being easy to locate in higher grades, though specimens with absolutely flawless surfaces, graded MS 67 or higher, can still be challenging and are valued by numismatists. The coin's design elements tie directly to American tradition. In God We Trust, placed boldly beneath the profile of Kennedy, serves not only as a national motto but also as a reminder of the cultural values upheld at the time of the coin's creation. E pluribus unum, placed on the reverse, reflects unity and the democratic ideals of the United States. The word liberty, which crowns the obverse, anchors the entire design in the foundational principles on which the nation was built. Together, these mottos form a symbolic triad that reinforces national identity, making the Kennedy half dollar not just a piece of currency, but a small, circulating plaque of American history. Collectors often admire the 1985 P half dollar for its historical continuity within the Kennedy series. While early Kennedy half dollars of 1964 were made from 90% silver, and those of 1965 to 1970 contained 40% silver, the 1985 issue belongs to the later era of fully copper-nickel-clad coinage. Even without silver, the coin maintains substantial size and heft, a quality many people appreciate because modern coinage tends towards smaller denominations and lighter metals. The half dollar's diameter of 30.6 millimeters gives it a commanding presence relative to other circulating coins. In numismatic study, emphasis is often placed on the details of the strike, the clarity of the portrait, and the sharpness of the feathers on the eagle. The Philadelphia Mint typically produced Kennedy halves with reliable consistency, but certain 1980s issues, including 1985, sometimes show minor variation in strike strength. Collectors evaluating a 1985 P-coin often look closely at Kennedy's hair, especially the strands above the ear. If these lines appear sharply defined, the coin is considered well struck. On the reverse, collectors analyze the eagle's wings, the shield stripes, and the tiny stars for clarity. Coins from mint sets often retain strong luster, a cartwheel-like shine produced during striking, which adds to their aesthetic appeal. Although common overall, the 1985 P half dollar still serves as an important artifact of its era. It reflects the mint's ongoing commitment to maintaining long-running coinage traditions, even during periods when certain denominations fell out of everyday use. It continues to represent the legacy of John F. Kennedy, whose image remains one of the most recognized and respected in American political history. For new collectors, it provides an accessible entry into the world of U.S. numismatics. For advanced collectors, it offers opportunities to seek high-grade or special examples with superior eye appeal. Overall, the 1985 P. Kennedy half dollar holds significant historical, artistic, and symbolic value. Its inscriptions, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and E Pluribus Unum, connect it to the nation's founding principles. Its design honors a beloved president. Its production story reflects changes in American commerce and minting practices. And its preservation in mint sets has allowed it to remain in excellent condition for decades. Whether examined for its artistry, studied for its history, or collected for its legacy, the 1985 P half dollar stands as a meaningful piece the next top. The 1988 P United States of America Kennedy half dollar is part of the long-running series first introduced in 1964 to commemorate President John F. Kennedy shortly after his assassination, and the 1988 issue reflects the mature phase of the modern-clad half-dollar era, bearing the classic obverse portrait designed by Chief Engraver Gilroy Roberts, which depicts a left-facing, highly polished bust of Kennedy with fine hair detailing, strong neckline definition, and the inscriptions Liberty, curving around the top rim. In God We Trust, placed below Kennedy's chin in its traditional two-line split layout, and the date 1988 positioned directly beneath the truncation of the bust. The P mint mark, indicating production at the Philadelphia Mint, appears just above the 8 in the date, signifying its place among the millions of half-dollars struck that year as part of circulation runs that were decreasing in public use due to minimal everyday demand for the denomination. On the reverse, engraved by Frank Gasparo, the coin features the powerful image of the presidential seal, consisting of a heraldic eagle with outstretched wings clutching an olive branch in its right talon, and a bundle of arrows in its left, a shield over its chest symbolizing national unity, and above it a full halo of rays and 50 stars representing the states, while around the rim the inscriptions, United States of America, and half dollar, appear in bold serif lettering. The motto E Pluribus Unum, translating to out of many one, is placed on a flowing banner held in the eagle's beak, reinforcing the unity message central to U.S. numismatic symbolism. The 1988 P. Kennedy half dollar is struck in the modern copper-nickel-clad composition, outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, a material that replaced the earlier 90% silver format after 1964 and the reduced silver 40% format that ended after 1970. Its specifications include a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, a mass of 11.34 grams, a reeded edge, and the standard circulation strike finish typical of late 20th century U.S. coinage. While the denomination saw limited economic use in the 1980s, millions of 1988 p-half dollars were still minted, largely for banking and casino demands, resulting in a coin that is generally common in circulated grades but capable of showing collectible value in high-end uncirculated or proof-like conditions, especially those graded MS 66 and above by major grading services due to the difficulty of finding flawless surfaces on such large clad planchets. Collectors often examine the sharpness of the device details, including the clarity of Kennedy's hair on the obverse, the boldness of the eagle's feathers on the reverse, and the completeness of the rim lettering, as well as the overall luster and strike strength, since Philadelphia issues of the late 1980s can vary in sharpness. The inscriptions, "In God We Trust" and "E Pluribus Unum" hold special significance to many collectors, both for their historic national meaning and for how their appearance and spacing can help identify die varieties, strike quality, or postmint wear. On authentic 1988 P issues, both mottos are sharply rendered in a modern, clean serif typeface, though circulation often softens the finer lines. While no major mint errors dominate the 1988 P issue, minor varieties such as die cracks, die clashes, struck-through debris marks, or off-center strikes can occur and may hold niche collector interest. In the wider context of Kennedy half-dollar history, the 1988 P coin represents the transition period before the denomination's production would drastically reduce in the 2000s when the U.S. Mint acknowledged that half dollars circulated very little. Nevertheless, the 1988 P remains an affordable, historically meaningful piece reflecting the enduring legacy of President Kennedy. The artistic craftsmanship of Roberts and Gasparo, the patriotic symbolism of the presidential seal, and the continued presence of national mottos that connect modern coinage to centuries of American identity, the next top. The 1992 P United States of America Kennedy half dollar is part of the long-running Kennedy half dollar series, first issued in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy shortly after his assassination, and the 1992 issue from the Philadelphia Mint continues the modern copper-nickel clad composition that began in 1971, consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving the coin its silver-like appearance without containing actual silver. The obverse of the 1992 P half dollar features Gilroy Roberts' iconic portrait of President Kennedy facing left, with the word Liberty arched across the upper rim and the motto "In God We Trust" placed to the left and right of the bust, with the 1992 date centered below. The small P mint mark, indicating production at the Philadelphia Mint, appears just above the date near Kennedy's neck truncation. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, displays a detailed interpretation of the presidential seal, featuring a heraldic eagle with a shield on its chest, clutching an olive branch in its right talon, and a bundle of arrows in its left, symbolizing America's commitment to peace while maintaining readiness for defense. Above the eagle is a ring of 50 stars representing the states, and in a ribbon above the eagle's head is the traditional American motto "E Pluribus Unum," meaning "out of many, one," expressing the unity of the nation from diverse states and peoples. Along the rim appears United States of America at the top and half dollar at the bottom, completing the classic and recognizable design. In 1992, Kennedy half dollars were still produced in large numbers for circulation, although actual circulation use had declined since the 1970s, causing many coins to remain in mint storage or enter the collector market in uncirculated mint sets. The Philadelphia Mint struck well over 15 million half dollars that year, and most examples exist today in common condition, making the 1992 PA coin of modest monetary value in worn circulated grades, but still a meaningful collectible for those assembling date and mint-mark sets or enthusiasts who appreciate modern U.S. coinage. Higher grade examples, especially those graded MS 66 or MS 67. Can bring more value due to strike quality, luster, and relatively fewer surviving pieces at those premium levels. Flawless or nearly flawless coins in professional third-party holders are most sought after by advanced collectors. The coin's design elements: In God We Trust, Liberty, the Eagle, E Pluribus Unum, and the Presidential Seal, reflect decades of American symbolism woven into U.S. coinage, and the Kennedy half-dollar remains one of the most recognizable and culturally significant denominations in modern American numismatics. Even though the 1992 P issue is generally considered common, it still represents an important piece of U.S. minting history, bridging the gap between circulating coinage and modern collectible issues, and it stands as a tribute to President Kennedy's legacy, as well as a continuation of the artistic tradition of American coin design. The next top. The 2001 United States half-dollar, commonly known as the Kennedy half-dollar, is a circulation coin struck at the Denver Mint, and is part of the long-running series first introduced in 1964 to honor the legacy of President John F. Kennedy following his assassination. Composed of a copper-nickel-clad alloy with a reeded edge, the 2001 issue continues the familiar design created by chief engraver Gilroy Roberts, obverse, and designer Frank Gasparo, reverse. On the obverse, Kennedy's left-facing portrait dominates the field, with the motto, "In God We Trust," appearing horizontally beneath his chin, while the word Liberty, which you may have meant by library, arches around the top of the coin, each letter spaced widely to frame the bust. The date 2001 is placed below the neckline truncation, and the D mint mark sits to the right of the portrait, identifying the coin as a product of the Denver Mint. The reverse features an intricate heraldic eagle adapted from the presidential seal, spreading its wings beneath the semicircular legend, United States of America, and above the denomination, half-dollar. Above the eagle's head floats a field of stars encircling a ring that symbolizes unity, and in the bird's beak is the national motto, E Pluribus Unum, meaning out of many, one, a traditional affirmation of American identity. The eagle holds an olive branch in its right talon, symbolizing peace, and a bundle of arrows in its left talon, symbolizing readiness to defend the nation. These symbols echo themes of balance and national purpose found on many U.S. coins. Although the Kennedy half-dollar once circulated widely, by 2001 it had become a coin struck mostly for collectors, with relatively low demand in everyday commerce, and most examples from this year survive in excellent condition because they were purchased directly from mint sets or saved soon after release. The 2001 half-dollar is not composed of silver. It uses the standard copper-nickel-clad composition, except in special silver-proof sets, and typical circulation strike pieces have only modest numismatic value unless found in exceptional mint state condition. This issue stands as a continuation of the nation's tribute to President Kennedy, while also carrying forward long-standing American coinage traditions. Its inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and E Pluribus Unum reflect core national ideals, and its design situates the piece squarely within the historical and artistic lineage of U.S. currency, making even an ordinary 2001 half-dollar a small but meaningful artifact tied to American history, symbolism, and minting.